time loss to the Utah Jazz. That was a winnable game that the Bulls just did not execute down the stretch of the game. We're going to talk about it all and more, but you know what we got to do first? We got to play that intro. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And the Chicago Bulls lose in double overtime to the Utah Jazz, 150-147. This is a game which Buzelis fouled out in. Coby White played 6 minutes over his 24-minute limit. And the Bulls just did not execute well enough down the stretch of the game. But there are also some really ticky-tack calls called by the refs over the course of this game that really impacted things as well. Coby, for what it's worth, in his return, had 27 points. He goes 5 of 14 from the field. He gets to the free throw line 14 times with 8 assists, 1 steal, 4 rebounds, 3 turnovers from Coby White. One of the times in this game that the Bulls felt like they had a time to seal it was that the Utah Jazz turned it over. Coby White caught it and just made one of those – the thing that Coby White did in this game, and again, I think it was more good than bad from Coby in this game, but we saw that thing where Coby White leaves his feet and tries to make that awkward pass in the paint. Just take it up and try to get to the free throw line. He got to the free throw line 14 times today. If you take away some of those awkward pass outs in the paint, you're probably looking at about a 16, 17 free throw attempt a night for Coby White, if not a little bit more than that. And that's just something I would really love to see Coby White kind of completely eliminate from your game. If you got a twist to pass it, and after getting to the lane, just don't even pass it. Just take it up strong. Try to get the foul. Get to the free throw line. That's what I like you doing. Now, if you see a cutter or somebody coming, do a scoop pass to them, something like that. But if you got to twist your body to try to find the guy, that's where I want Coby White to stop that. I just think that that's just not a good look for Coby White. That's not a good look for this team. It contributed to those turnovers, some of those down the stretch of the game. Coby got to tighten up on that. I think if he does that, you know, he's going to get to the free throw line a little bit more. But for what it's worth, getting 27 points, your first game back after missing the first month plus of the season, you know, take that for what you will from Coby. The Bulls got against Denver tomorrow. Kobe's not going to be playing in that game, so we'll see. Maybe Trey Jones does play in that game. But for what it's worth, Coby had 30 minutes, 27 points off 14 shots. Not a bad night for Coby. Not a great night, but not a bad night for Coby at all. Josh Giddey gets another triple-double, 26 points, 13 assists, 12 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks from Josh Giddey in this game. He continues to fill up the stat sheet, but did not execute well enough. And I want to be clear, nobody on this Bulls team had perfect execution from about the third quarter, about halfway through the third quarter on. There were a lot of little mistakes made by this Bulls team. And again, we'll talk about the refs. The refs definitely had their part in this as well, where the refs did some things that definitely took away from the Chicago Bulls also in this. But for what it's worth, Josh Giddey, another triple-double for the Chicago Bulls. He did have 6 turnovers, though. But we saw Josh Giddey that was attacking at the rim. He got to the free throw line 6 times today. He was 9 of 21 from the field. Some questionable shot selection there. Early three-pointers in the shot clock, which is never good for this team. From Josh Giddey. Got 21 points from Nikola Vucevic, his best statistical game in the last 5 games. 21 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 blocks from Vuc today, who was a lot more active, right? Like I said, and this is a game where I'll say, much like with Coby, there were some good things that Vuc did. He had some big shots in there, but this game came down to a last-minute three-point attempt from Coby, and I just don't understand on a night where Nikola Vucevic before that shot was 2 of 7 from three-point line, why you ran a three-point shot attempt for Nikola Vucevic and that goes to Billy Donovan and some of the coaching mistakes that we've seen from him here recently as well. He got to stop falling in love with Vooch. Jalen Smith had an okay game today. P. Will had an okay defensive game today. Ayo Dosunmu only played 26 minutes today. He did score 18 points, but we didn't see some of him until Modest fouled out and he got back in the game. So, again, something to look at from coaching, but, it is what it is there. Modest Buzelis, 18 points, 7 of 13 from the field. He had 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 blocks as well in this game. He did foul out of this game. We really could use Modest Buzelis down the stretch because Modest hit some big threes for us. He got cut to the rim, some good times. And you started seeing some of how that could work once, with Josh Giddey and Coby White both being back and how that could work with Modest Buzelis and playing off those guys. Isaac Okoro had 5 points today. Other than that, Julian Phillips, who only ended up playing 13 minutes, had 10 points, 4 or 5 from the field. I would have liked to see more Julian Phillips down the stretch of this game, more than P. Will. I get it that P. Will was that big body that you wanted to put on Lauri Markkanen, and that's fine there. But once again, it seems like Billy Donovan didn't ride the hot hand because Julian in his 13 minutes played excellently. I haven't seen this good of a game from Julian Phillips in a while. And off the top of my head, I can't think of any big mistakes he made on the defensive side of the ball. When Modest fouled out, I do think that Julian Phillips was the closest thing to kind of replacing the way that Modest played in this game specifically. I'm not saying that Julian Phillips is a one-for-one Modest in every game or every night, but I think in this game specifically, Julian's ability to cut and how he was hitting the three-point line, he was 2 or 3 from the three-point line, I think the defenses would have had to respect him. And I think, when Modest fouled out, Julian could bring some of that switchability as well. Billy Donovan didn't trust him. That's something to look at and watch as well. But, for what it's worth, if you're looking for the positive out of it, Julian played 13 minutes. And I can't think of anything Julian did bad out there. Maybe a blown possession or something like that. But Julian played pretty well. And if I'm not mistaken, most of his minutes came in the first half. I don't think we really saw any of Julian in the second half. Only 3 minutes from Julian, about 3.5 minutes from Julian Phillips in the second half of this game after he played very well in the first half. Billy Donovan got some explaining to do with that because what more do you want from the kid? He played 9 minutes and 33 seconds in the first half of this game. He had 11 points. In 9 minutes, he had 11 points. Trust him a little bit more, man. Like, these are the young players that, I get it, this was a tight game. This was a winnable game by the Chicago Bulls. But I would have just liked to see a little bit more trust laid out to a young player that played pretty well for you in this game. And, again, I don't think that Julian did anything that stood out as crazily wrong in this game where you had to bench him or something like that. But maybe that's just me. I would have liked to see a little bit more Julian Phillips in this game down the stretch of it, especially after Modest Buzelis fouled out. I would just like to see more Julian Phillips. But, for wherever that's worth. But, shout out to the Utah Jazz. Lauri Markkanen puts up 47 points on 33 shots. He gets to the free throw line 13 times. Keontae George has 34 points as well. Those are two of the players that I said, if both these guys have big nights tonight, they're going to be in this game. And the Bulls didn't really do enough to slow them down in some of the key moments. Now, Keontae George took 27 points to get 34 shots, which he was 10 and 27. It's not a horribly inefficient night. But other than that, like, you had 16 points from Isaiah Collier, 16 points from Ben Sensabaugh, 10 points from Kevin Love in this game. But other than that, like, again, this was a very winnable game by the Bulls. The Jazz didn't shoot crazily efficiently. They were 44% from the field, 37% from three. They were 83% from the free throw line. We were 94% for that matter. They got 9 more free throw attempts than us. That definitely played a big part in this game, and that leads me to the next thing that I want to talk about. The officiating in this game was mad questionable. And keep in mind, you guys can go back and look. Even in some games where the officiating was bad, I always talk about the Bulls and how you need to do enough and take care of enough things in the game where officiating can't completely rip the game from you. But I will say this. In this game, it was so hard, especially in overtime and in the fourth quarter, for the Bulls to catch momentum because there were so many ticky-tack fouls or outwardly just fouls that weren't called. An over the back that should have been called against the Utah Jazz end up going to them on a foul call. They get 2 free throws on that. Coby White was fouled on a drive where he made the bucket. He should have had an and one on that. Kevin Huerter was fouled a couple of times too. Like, the officiating in this game just felt really mad questionable. And I don't even like to blame officiating, but looking at this game, I don't know how you can look at it and don't think that officiating had a part in why this game was a little bit rough for the Bulls down the stretch of this game. Let me take a look at the second half. I just want to see the discrepancy. In the second half of this game, the Chicago Bulls had 12 free throw attempts, and they had 19. 19 in overtime. The Bulls had 6. They had 9. It just was such a big discrepancy in those areas, man, that, again, I'm not trying to blame it all just on that, but it is something that you have to look at and factor into that. As far as the grittiness of it, right? The Bulls had 54 points in the paint. The Utah Jazz had 52. We had 20 second chance points to their 17, 16 fast break points on both sides. We had 71 bench points to their 50. We had 17 turnovers, though. That's really where it made a big difference. They had 20 points off turnovers where we had 13. So when you look at free throw attempts, the officiating by the refs, the turnovers, if the Bulls could have gotten better calls on either one of those things, this probably would have been a win for the Bulls. But, woulda, coulda, shoulda, there are no moral victories. The Bulls lost this game. After starting the season 5-0 and 6-1, they now find themselves at 6-6, perfect 500. And the Bulls are going to have to dig in and ask themselves who they really are. Who are you really? Because there were some good signs of this team offensively bringing it together. With Coby and Josh Giddey out there, like you saw how Modest playing off those guys, Okoro playing off those guys can really help. I think that it goes a long way as well that Vuc got back on track in the game with Josh. I keep telling y'all, Vuc is the best thing Josh Giddey is the best thing for Nikola Vucevic. He's the best thing for Nikola Vucevic. If, ands, or question about it. If you want Vuc to be efficient offensively, it comes via Josh Giddey feeding him the ball. I'm going to look up the passing chart here for a second, and I want to see this for the Bulls. So when you look at Josh Giddey's assists today, right? Let's narrow down Josh Giddey's assists. So Josh Giddey today, out of his 13 assists, 6 of them went to Nikola Vucevic, 4 to Buzelis. Those are the 2 players that Josh Giddey really creates a lot for. So out of 13 assists, 10 of them went to 2 players. Almost half of them went just to Nikola Vucevic. There's a direct correlation in Vuc being efficient on offense and Josh Giddey feeding him the ball. And I say that to say this, right? You guys know, I've been a big proponent of saying that, hey, Nikola Vucevic is really good at what we call him and ask him to do. As far as offense, he plays to his strengths. I think now that Nikola Vucevic is so reliant on Josh Giddey creating for him that I at this point, maybe we do just need to jettison Vuc off because Josh Giddey can do that for just about any center. And I'm not trying to knock that Vuc hits some big shots. He's a solid passer. But I think that with Josh Giddey creating as much as he does for Vuc, you got to ask yourself, if you had a more athletic center in here that was a lob threat, that did protect the rim and still could rebound well, could we get a similar offensive output out of a center that isn't necessarily that offensively gifted because of having Giddey's ability to create for him? I want to look at Coby White too. Coby White had 8 assists today. And out of his 8 assists, none of them went to Vuc. So I take that back. Coby White's assists were pretty well spread out. He had 2 to Josh Giddey, 2 to Io, 1 to Okoro, 1 to Jalen, 1 to Julian, 1 to P. Will. So there you go on that one. But yeah, it's just, and I'll probably dive into that deeper, not tomorrow because we got a game. I'm not going to have enough time to do a deep dive into the analytics, but I just want to know what Vuc's efficiency is with Giddy on the court versus, you know what? I can look it up real quick. I'm sorry. Now that it's on my mind, I want to find it and see if I'm on to something with this, and maybe I'll dive deeper into it. All right, so let's look at the lineups here. Let's do Nikola Vucevic on with Josh Giddey on the court. Okay, bet. All right, so when Nikola Vucevic is on the court with Josh Giddey, he has a net rating of plus 1.3, an offensive rating of 137, a defensive rating of 115. Now let's take Josh Giddey off the court. I just want to see what he looks like with Josh Giddey off the court. So Nikola Vucevic has played 115 minutes without Josh Giddey. Without Josh Giddey on the court, Vuc is negative 25, a net rating of negative 13, an offensive rating of 138, a defensive rating of 120. I'm telling y'all, If it's not for Josh Giddey, Nikola Vucevic is pedestrian as fuck. And that's something that the Bulls really need to look at, because if the one thing that you can give Nikola Vucevic is his offense, but if his offense is coming because somebody else is creating it for him more than not, why can't Josh Giddey do that for somebody else, right? So, like, if you were to add a Daniel Gafford or Nick Claxton to this team, again, they won't score the same way that Vooch does, but because you have Giddey and Coby and Trey, would they be able to create enough looks for that more defensive-minded center to where the offense kind of balances out? Because keep in mind this, even if we had a more defensive-minded center, and on those minutes where Josh Giddey isn't on the court with them, they still have a defensive base. The way things are right now is that when Nikola Vucevic isn't on the court with Josh Giddey, because he doesn't have any defense to offer, the shit's in the toilet. So, I mean, it's something to think about. It's something to watch out and see how it goes and develops. But I'm going to be looking out for that over these next couple of games to see how those things directly correlate. Because Vooch used to be a very good self-creating center. But now if he's not creating for himself, what benefit does he really have? It's just a question. Just a question. But all right, let's go to some of the comments. I want to see how you guys are feeling about this. That's so true. Vooch doesn't even try to back his defender down anymore. He's become 100% dependent on Giddey creating his offensive opportunity. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if you had a more athletic center, would that creation from Josh Giddey be even more potent, right? It's just a thought. And I'll tell you what, I also saw more possessions this game where the Bulls slowed down the offense to wait for Vooch to come down the court, so that way they weren't playing 4-on-5. It's just something to look out for there. Again, I'm not blaming this loss on Vooch. I want to be clear here. In no way am I saying that this loss is 100% on Nikola Vucevic, because it's not. Coby made some mistakes. Giddey made some mistakes. The refs sucked. All those type of things. But it's just something to look out for when you talk about, because people think when you talk about changing a player, they look at this player's stats and they look at that player's stats and they try to make a determination on who's the better player based off that. When you get more into the nitty-gritty, the hows of it, you really start seeing that, like, he is dependent on point guards creating for him now. It's just something to think there. Something to think about. Bro, you looked up the stats to confirm what we already know. Thank God Vooch is expiring. Hey, I mean, but it's the hows, right? Like, because I think that that's important. If Vooch's best games are coming just because of Josh Giddey, I mean, what's your value at that point, right? At least my Bears are in first place. Listen, thank God for that, bro. Thank God for that. That's a pretty apt comment. I must have missed something. Hey, to add on what you said, remember when Zach Collins was starting, you saw a much more energy on defense as a whole. You're not wrong there. You're not wrong. Lobs are as far as the eye can see. That is hilarious. Once again, the coaching ball was dropped. JP was having an impact, and he wasn't seeing most of the second half. Billy sees turnover after turnover by Josh and makes no adjustment. It's sickening. Well, you can't really make an adjustment to turnovers. Like, that's player decision-making. Like, I'm going to say this. I'm not saying that you can't adjust certain things. Julian Phillips should have been playing. But you can't adjust for players making dumbass decisions. And there were some passes that Josh Giddey tried to make today that were dumb. I mean, and again, I'm a Josh Giddey fan. I like Josh Giddey. This isn't to knock Josh Giddey. This isn't to try to turn it and try to make Josh Giddey out to be bad or anything like that. But, like, there were bad decisions made by Josh, by Coby, and later in this game where you could tell that they were pressing. You want to be calming, a calming factor. And that's what Josh Giddey has been at times this season for the Bulls. This was his first game back, but, we'll see what happens there. If Coby plays like an all-star tomorrow versus Nuggets, we had a high chance. Well, he's not playing tomorrow. So he's not playing tomorrow. He's not playing on back-to-backs yet, so he's not going to be playing tomorrow. Trade Vooch and filler plus our Portland pick. You're not getting AD for that. Like, y'all got to stop. When you come up with these trades, actually go and look up what the opposing team is wanting back for that player. They want first-round picks. So you're not getting him just for Vooch, filler, and the Portland pick. Now, if you're putting in, and keep in mind, Vooch plus filler, AD's contract is $58 million. Vuc's is 20. You can't come up with $38 million of filler, bro. Like, that's another thing you got to look at with that one. So, I'm so effing sick of Isaac Okoro. He was just not a factor today. 2 for 7 and 45 pieces of can. See, that's the thing. You can't try to judge Isaac Okoro's based off what he scored and what he shot. That's just not. Now, I will say this. This wasn't his best game as far as, defensive impact. He got cooked by Laurie a couple of times today. But you can't just, I'm going to always say that, you can't just try to gauge, Okoro's impact based off stats, because that's just not the type of player he is. And with Coby coming back, there's going to be even less shot opportunities for Isaac Okoro. So you have to look at what he does on ball defensively, but it wasn't great today. So, I mean, it was bad today because it wasn't great defensively, but I'm not even worried about what he shot. I'm worried about how he defended. Giddey's still very young. He'll improve. Oh, listen, Giddey, what I have learned from Josh, from this whole Josh Giddey becoming a member of the Chicago Bulls, is never to count out Josh Giddey to fix something. I never thought Josh Giddey would turn into the off-ball three-point shooter that he turned into. And look at it. He's statistically one of the best three-point shooters in the game of basketball this season so far. So this is why you don't count him out. You don't count out, like, a player that's as driven as Josh Giddey and is in the lab as much. We'll see. The turnovers aren't all on Josh with the amount of time he has the ball. Player movement off ball was stagnant, and that was evident with their lack of effort in regards to offense. Oh, that's 100% fact. There were times out there where Josh Giddey was the only one going for offensive rebounds. You are not wrong at that at all. Not at all. You're not wrong in that one. Okoro offers defense. Yeah, but the defense wasn't great today either. Not a fan of Okoro either. Not going here's the thing. When Okoro, the thing with Okoro is some of his best games are still not going to show up on the stat sheet. You got to go out and be like, damn, he held this player to 5% less shooting when he was guarding him. But I'll say this. So far this season, the thing that Isaac, and for those that are new here, the thing I always like to do is I like to use what players say about themselves, and I like to hold them to that standard, because that removes me setting the standard for them. That removes fans setting the standard for them. I'm holding them to the standard that they set for themselves. Isaac Okoro, when he was traded here, said that he wanted to come here and guard the opposing team's best player. He wanted that assignment to try to shut down the opposing team's best player. And I don't think we've seen enough of that for defense to be the thing that you hang your hat on. I don't think we've seen enough of that to make me feel super confident. Now, there have been some games where Okoro has absolutely hugely impacted the defense for the Chicago Bulls. I'm just saying, though, there's some things you look at and you're like, you're not really kind of giving us what we needed. So we'll see if that changes over the course of the season. AD believe in the game in an ambulance for real. Listen, I'm good on the AD thing. I'm really good on the AD thing. Why would anyone want $1 million per game player who gets hurt all the time and doesn't fit our timeline? Because Bulls fans are thirsty for a trade. Hey, do you think Coby will be back-to-back starting next week? No, I said that they're probably going to go. We have 3 sets of back-to-backs for the rest of November. He probably doesn't play back-to-backs, any of that. It's probably not till December. We have 14 days left, 15 days left in November with 3 sets of back-to-backs over those 15 days. I say that he probably doesn't play any of them for the rest of November. That's just my guess. I haven't heard anything of that. I don't have any insider information on that. That's just me reading the tea leaves and trying to come up with what's going on here. I just want to ask a question. Why did Billy keep Okoro on Laurie instead of Patrick Williams, who's bigger and stronger? Famo, I have no idea, bro. We were asking that during the live stream. I have no fucking idea, bro. None. Glad I'm watching the game tomorrow at work. Laughed my ass off. Not sure if I want to pay attention. Hey, listen, it is what it is, bro. It is what it is. What made the Bulls' first game so fun watch was they played physical, especially in the paint, despite the bigs in there. They're not doing that anymore and falling in love for the three. Definitely saw a lot of possessions where the Bulls got back to falling in love with three-point shot, and that's never been a recipe for success. Never been a recipe for success. Man, I love how honest and fair you are. Since I started watching this season, I noticed you're not biased. Thank you. Listen, I just try to look at, like, I'm not going to act like I don't have my biases. I think we all as people have our biases, right? But when I'm talking about the game, I try to let what we see and then what the analytics tell us, I let that be the focus. Right now, I have my things that I am biased on, like I hate Javon Carter. There's anytime I don't care how good Javon Carter plays in a game, I'm still going to hate Javon Carter. But, other than that, like, it is what it is. I try my best to be objective and just to give the results of what we're seeing out there. But all right, y'all, double overtime. I'm not going to give the usual long post-game show. I love you guys. I want to thank you guys for rocking with me. Sucks that the Bulls are back at 500, but listen, this is where the season starts at. Let's see what the Bulls can do, how they can come out of this. 2 more games on this West Coast trip before we go back home briefly and then go out for another 5 games, I think. So we'll see what the Bulls can do on that one, man. Make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number 1 spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace. Uh-oh, my bad. I didn't play the outro.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.